taxes?
That's a great question, and the referendum is big, and that would be, if I get elected in November, that would be one of the first things that comes up, besides teacher contracts, superintendent contracts. That's coming up in March. It is for a big number, $17 million, and there's lots of things included in that, including three of the main items that I want to talk about, which is technology, which to me is critical. We have a test, there's tests we take like NJ Ask, and there's a test called PARC. Well, eventually NJ Ask is going to go away and PARC's going to take over. And the scenario is we have kids that are going to have to take a test and they need a computer. Well, if you look at an example of, say, HB, there's like 700 plus students there, and we only have 24 computers. So we're behind the curve on technology. So for me, that's critical, number one, that we take care of the technology. You know, whether e-readers, more smart boards, we have the tools and technology available. We just have to get that in the hands of the teachers and the students. And I believe students will learn more when they have technology. Number two is security. I'm a big avid believer in that there's never enough security. Of course, you have to be cost effective and you have to make sure you get a return on your investment. But for me, when I let my kids go to school in the morning, or all the residents when they let their kids go to school, it's important to know that your children are going into a safe environment, where there's cameras, locks, security, ID badges. I mean, I know that was talked about. Again, there's lots of options out there. We have to decide what's best for the folks here. And the last thing is fiscal responsibility. We talked about some numbers before, but again, everybody's worrying about tax dollars. And the bottom line is, I'm a taxpayer. I don't want to pay higher taxes either. But if it's for the better of the whole community, if it keeps our property values up, if it allows us to retain the best administrators and teachers that we have in our town, to me that's critical. So that's where I sort of stand on the referendum. Basically, you have to look at the main components and do you get a return on your investment?
All children deserve to learn in a safe environment. And that has to do with everything from how you feel to the building that you're sitting in. Several years ago, we had a referendum and we cut half out of it. That other roughly 30 to 25 million still has not been addressed, and it's over 5 years later. I believe that we will come together and we'll recognize that these problems haven't disappeared and that they do need to be addressed. How we address them, though, is what counts. So we have a couple choices we can make. One of them being, we can start to look at our budget in terms of what's operational year to year and what's long term. And so long as we can balance those priorities, we can ensure that when we do go to our stakeholders and our constituents and say, hi, we have an opportunity to improve our schools, it might cost us some money to do so. That hopefully we can do it in a way that is sustainable for our families, in a way that it isn't a surprise, and in a way that we can say, yes, we're coming to you today, but 2, 3, 5, and 10 years down the line, here's what you can kind of expect from our school system and what it will take to keep it running, not just at where we are today, but to continue to grow it in the future.
I think it's pretty clear. I'm in a little bit of a different position than probably people running for the board. Having been on the board as we've been talking about this, having been on the Buildings and Grounds Committee, I think my perspective is pretty clear cut. I'm in favor of doing the referendum. I think that it's required. When you look back to the referendum that we did a number of years ago, that was $34 million. At that time, we had a list of projects that were $60, $65 million, and we knew that wasn't going to be possible to do to get approved. And at that time, just wasn't prudent to really try to even tackle that much. So we cut it basically in half. But the needs for those projects didn't go away. The needs for those improvements didn't go away. So, a number of years later, it's time to revisit that. And not only do we have to look at what we didn't do at that time, but there's additional needs that have come up over the ensuing seven years. So there's a real need to improve our facilities. And what I would say to a taxpayer, and to myself, because listen, no one enjoys paying taxes. Everyone's taxes are too high. There's no doubt about that. But then you need to look at what are you getting for your tax dollar, and the impact to the schools from improving them relate directly back to your own property values. So it's like investing. If you invest in something now, it's going to pay dividends down the road. So that's one thing. There's a return on your investment from just investing in your schools and in your community. But also, when you look at the facilities and you look at what we're looking to do, we're looking to improve things such as security, technology, the fields that we have to address because of the contamination. So these are not frivolous items. These are real needs that have been identified that we really have to do, and we have to figure out a way to do it. We can't keep pushing this down the road. So as a community, we need to come together and say, you know what, we're going to do this. And I just think that the time's now and the time's right to get it done.